members of the diplomatic corps, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, war represents a failure of diplomacy. On behalf of the Japanese Foreign Ministry, our goal in this summit is the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. Since North Korea has been fine-tuning their nuclear program for the past decade, the recent inflammatory remarks of their new leader Kim Jong-un have forced the issue to prove the point. We need to find a solution now before the conflict can develop. During the course of the summit, the Japanese government will be working closely with the other countries including today in order to find a diplomatic solution to the issue of North Korea. Our aim is to promote a peaceful transition of the Korean Peninsula towards complete denuclearization of the state to ensure security in the region. We are ready to put aside our personal interests, such as the abduction issue, to benefit the security of the international community. We hope that at the end of this summit, the other nations here can come to an agreement to effectively resolve this issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will now call on our second speaker from China. And also, while we're waiting for the Chinese delegate, I neglected to mention we have a guest here, of course, Dr. Peter Mook, which many of you will know from Asia and the World, or as an academic advisor. I'm out of character here, I'm not in the deep end of the moment. And Peter has generously agreed to be here as an observer for today, so deeply appreciate it. So, second speaker, putting hat back on, second speaker from China.
Good morning, distinguished guests. We would like to begin our opening statement by making clear our position on the issue of a possible crisis involving the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. We firmly believe that the best path to stability in the Asian region and the aversion of an armed conflict lie in diplomacy and trade. With this in mind, our position, from a military perspective, is one of non-intervention, but we encourage intervention in the form of all types of diplomacy with North Korea. We would also hold that joint military actions between South Korea, Japan, and the United States have served only to exacerbate the rising tensions and further alienate the PAAR. Whilst it is certainly a difficult undertaking, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea's seclusion is not incidental to diplomacy, and negotiations between US military forces and the rest of the region. US military antagonism has only made relations with Korea more tenuous and is likely to encourage armed conflict. This is particularly worrying to us, as we are much more likely to be affected adversely by a hot war in the region than those nations with less geographical proximity. In regards to our own policy, our military should only mobilise in the event that we, ourselves, are under direct military threat. This position applies to the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, as it should to any other nation, and we would like to stress that we will not be joining in preemptive manoeuvres or engaging in combat with any of our neighbours until threatened. Inasmuch as it is possible to envision a situation where military cooperation between us and other nations is achieved, it should only arise due to direct and tangible threats to our own nation. Furthermore, although like all states we are advocates of our own self-interest, we are greatly valuing our relationship with our trading partners and hope that stability and peace can not only be achieved, but maintained. However, we do not view the Democratic People's Republic of Korea as the greatest threat to this ambition at the present time. Although it is true that we recognise the potential of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea to become a hostile nation and threaten our own security, we believe that wars are better prevented than won. Finally, we would like to take an opportunity to address some concerns that we covered in more detail during the earlier question time. As the meeting has been called abruptly and to address this specific issue of an impending security crisis involving the DPRK, we would like to request that all members try to utilise this limited time we have today to try and resolve the issue at hand. In other words, we will not be responding to any questions relating to territorial disputes with Japan, nor to dealing exclusively with other issues such as trade or human rights, or refugees, where they have no direct link to the main focus of the discussion. Whilst we will be making every attempt to clearly address all elements of any concern that deal with our own role in this impending crisis, we would like to abstain from addressing questions that fall outside of our intended focus during today's proceedings. Thank you.
We're doing very well with time here. So I now call on our first speaker, South Korea, speakers from South Korea.
strongly believe that the Democratic People's Republic of Korea to be the biggest threat within the region. They have generated instability amongst countries and distrust between foreign policy figureheads by excluding themselves from the Asia-Pacific region. Given our proximity to the DPRK and their previous aggression towards our nation, such as the bombardment of Yeonpyeong Island and the sinking of Pyongyang, it is evident that we are clearly exposed to and are at future risk of military engagement. Our foreign policy has recognised the need to balance our security as a sovereign state and economic prosperity amongst the region. Diplomacy throughout Korea can only be established when the DPRK signals it is ready to resume dialogue and all parties can agree on the one agenda. Our objective is to denuclearise the region whilst reducing tension. This can be achieved by enforcing economic and security measures, through which I'll hand over to Jane, our economic expert.
North Korea's recognition as a nuclear power is non-negotiable and unacceptable, as North Korea has established itself as an isolated country with a rigid institutional structure and entrenched interests. Their lack of cooperation with the United Nations and neighbouring countries disclose their interest in existence, as a socialist is an indication of this. From a global perspective, the DPRK actions is detrimental to economic prosperity and stability of neighbouring countries. The reasons for this shift in the DPRK economy toward trade and investment partners who are favourably disposed toward a strategy of engagement. This shift in the DPRK foreign economic relations have partly to do with the policy and economic developments within our nations and China, as well as modern development in other countries. The United Nations trade and investment ties with the Democratic People's Republic of Korea has always been minimal, and after 2002, humanitarian assistance trended down as well. In contrast, the Republic of Korea has taken major sanctions steps to terminate the humanitarian assistance that was altogether unfavorable from the outset. Not only has North Korea instigated regional instability, but has also demonstrated a lack of internal stability, as North Korea closed access to a joint factory zone with South Korea, putting at risk of $2 billion in trade. Vital for an impoverished state with a huge army and nuclear ambitions, and a hungry population, I will now hand you over to Kiani, our defense and military diplomat.
Hello. The Republic of Korea now has prepared for conventional all-out war scenarios, as well as low-intensity and asymmetrical warfare. This is to protect our sovereignty, citizens, and maintain our security interests. If North Korea continues their productive behavior and miscalculated attempts, we are prepared to make a military response. In order to counteract the DPRK threat, we have increased our military expenditure to $26.1 billion in deployment, exercise surveillance of the region, and expanding military cooperation with the United States of America. We have also previously explored ways of cooperating with Japan. In the past, Japan and the Republic of Korea have both recognized the need to increase military cooperation against North Korea. In terms of our alliances, South Korea and the United States have established a defense dialogue, which is used to protect national security interests. For example, we have developed our missile defense system. In the past, Japan and the Republic of Korea both have recognized the need to increase military cooperation against North Korea, which has enabled mutual sharing information on issues of North Korea and missile programs. In conclusion, we believe a cooperation between regional countries based on a set of objectives, shared interests, both national, regional, and international, will work towards a more peaceful and stable Asian region. This process will guarantee, in the long term, relations between our neighboring countries will stabilize our mutual interests. Thank you.
Okay, I now call on the Australian representative.
Good afternoon, fellow delegates. Australia, in light of North Korea's very public assertions about its willingness to commence nuclear strikes in the North Asian region, would first like to reaffirm its standing military and economic ties with Japan, South Korea, China, and the US. Australia would like to discuss the extent and nature of Australia's bilateral ties with these nations, how they then intersect with each other. Australia also wants to address the nature of the questions put to us, asserting that whilst North Korea's recent actions do represent a threat to pressing threat that Australia can envisage. Australia has historically enjoyed a very close partnership with the US, extensively evidenced by the ANZUS Treaty, and the recent Defence White Paper affirms this commitment. Australia is, however, cognizant of the fact that the stature of China as a burgeoning superpower ensures that a balance must be struck between honouring a bilateral relationship with the US that has been time-tested and endeavouring to achieve bilateral ties with China that can be classified as something more than amiable. Something we feel has been achieved by the announcement of strategic partnership with China, which was the annual leader-to-leader talks and increase in joint military exercises. Both the US and more recently China have recognised the need to contain the threat posed by North Korea, regardless of the actual possibility of that nation using nuclear armaments. The fact that both countries have previously participated in the now defunct six-party talks is evidence of consensus on the matter of North Korean nuclear armament. Moreover, recent developments regarding the cessation of funds from the Bank of China to North Korea and China's support of recent sanctions show that there is a sense of commonality between the two nations in trying to resolve the issue. Australia believes that this is to be encouraged, and that mutual agreement by both nations after this issue may pave the way for a greater consensus on security issues between the two countries in the future. Australia's relationship with Japan, like its one with the US, is long-standing and harkens back to the basic treaty of friendship and cooperation signed in 1976. In 2007, both nations signed a strategic security agreement which effectively rendered Japan our second closest ally. It is no surprise that our relationship with the Japanese is instrumental in attempting to reach a solution with regards to North Korea. This is also a given, considering the risk that Japan would be at if North Korea were to follow through with its pugnacious remarks. It is again important to note that there may be difficulties in allocating equal time in regard to both China and Japan. It is best not to sugarcoat the fact that both nations have a history of disgruntlement towards the other, particularly with fresh controversy regarding Japan's ownership of Okinawa and the Senkaku Islands. Australia believes, however, that it is in Japan and China's interest to rigorously work towards resolving these issues if both countries are to follow through with their condemnation of Pyongyang. That Japan and China will continue to be fought back and forth monthly would represent an additional threat to stability in the region. Australia also crucially believes in the role of South Korea in dealing with the North Korean nuclear threat. This is hardly surprising given the enormous stake that our nation has in a nuclear-free North Korea. In contrast to our relationship with Japan, we acknowledge that a defence and strategic relationship with the state does not bear the same sense of longevity. But it is important to reaffirm our commitment to South Korea. The US is obviously a keen ally of South Korea. It is important again to acknowledge that the relationship between South Korea, Japan and China. It is important again to acknowledge the relationship between South Korea, Japan and China. As we stated before, the fact that all three nations have a similar regard to North Korea's laser nuclear threat is a positive, and that it shows that there is regional commonality. However, the relationship between the nation itself poses an issue for the question of general stability of the region. South Korea and Japan often have issues with regards to allegations of Japanese militarism on the peninsula. Likewise, South Korea and China, whilst having enjoyed an increasingly fruitful economic relationship since 1992, have had their own periods of distrust, mostly stemming from South Korea's concern over China's alliance with North Korea. Australia states that it is essential for a better relationship between these nations to develop in order to ensure general stability in the region. Australia is happy to see that there is a sense of mutuality shared between the nations with regards to North Korea, but Australia also wishes to see a greater cohesion between the nations with regards to other pressures pressing issues of the region. Australia, for example, believes that the controversy of the Senkaku Islands between Japan and China also represents a very real threat to the region. The fact that the US may also be thrown into controversy due to Article 5 of the Treaty of Mutual Cooperation and Security also means that effectively, if war were to occur between the two Asian nations, the US might very well feel obliged to intervene, the result being a three-pronged hotbed of conflict. If such a situation would occur, any sense of regional stability would be severely thrown off course. Moreover, one could only think of the void and strategic normality that would occur and would allow North Korea added impetus to follow through on its threats if it were to see frequent US military incursions in the North Asian region. Essentially, then, Australia believes that whilst the North Korean threats of nuclear attack do represent a very real threat to stability in the region, the fact that relations between interested parties present in this forum are liable to shows of little disagreement means that there should also be an emphasis on normalising bilateral ties. A region that is fought with disagreement as to security, defence and geographical issues is not likely to be a stable one. Hence, Australia believes that the interested parties must strive to fight cohesion with each other. Only then will the region be stable and the threat of North Korea effectively managed.
Just quickly, well done. Okay, so we all kept under 5 minutes for less time, but it'll be, what I want you to do between now and the next workshop is think about the opening addresses from the other teams and the questions with notes which we're about to embark on as part of your plan to come up with the recommendations for the second workshop. Do you have a question?
International Crisis Group, do we get a
Yours?
position from...
You're going to get an opportunity.
No, it's not me.
Sorry,
I
speak.
was just asking.
Yeah. But I just wanted to make the point that I want you to really think about what you're doing. So the International Crisis Group, definitely, I want you to come forward, please, to give your speech. But what I want you to all to do is be thinking about how this is going to affect you for the second workshop. Thank you, Tom.
Good afternoon all. The International Crisis Group is a non-profit, non-governmental organisation that is overtly committed to preventing and resolving deadly conflicts. The ICG proposes the following policies. We endeavour to promulgate a bilateral relationship between the United States and North Korea. North Korea wants to pledge that the US will not overthrow the Kim Jong-un regime, and the pledge will not be attacked and the continuation of economic aid. Furthermore, negotiations become problematic when other actors in the region, namely China, South Korea, Japan, who want their voices heard. Moreover, the way forward is for the US to embrace and to persuade China, South Korea, Japan and Russia to support a four-phase approach that will start with the US giving North Korea a conditional security assurance in return for a verifiable hold in the nuclear program. It is only in combination with the bilateral talks, not just between the US and North Korea, but all state actors within the region negotiating with North Korea. Finally, in order for negotiations to be effective, a set time limit should be established and enforced so all actors are clear on the path of negotiations it will take. Beginning with bilateral talks, after 1 year, an assessment will be conducted on North Korean progress. If sufficient progress has been made, then it is this group's position. Multilateral talks should be conducted in a four-party program consisting of North Korea, South Korea, Japan and China. In the following year, another assessment should be conducted with a view to integration with the ASEAN +3 talks, making the ASEAN +4. Effective diplomacy, vigorously pursued, and delay no longer is the only way of peacefully resolving one of contemporary world's most serious security dilemmas. Now on to the recommendations. For the US, there are two phases. Phase 1, conditional security assurance. The US states publicly that they will not attack or use coercion against North Korea. In return, North Korea will halt all nuclear activities and give a full count of all 8,000 fuel rods and any unused plutonium. Phase 2, a time frame should be employed, 6 months, and if negotiations are not successfully concluded within the time frame, the following sanctions should be enacted. Number 1, deny hard currency to North Korea. Number 2, prohibiting ballistic missile shipments. And number 3, embracing suspension of energy supplies and all trade. However, it must be warned that this is the last recommendation that should be, that this last recommendation should be the absolute last resort. On to China. China should recognise its importance in regards to the issue. Its intimate and historical ties with North Korea should be utilised in order to bring a swift end to the issue. Simply put, it remains in China's own self-interest to provide humanitarian, economic, military, and energy assistance, as well as push for limited market reforms. For Japan, the abduction of Japanese citizens by North Korea is a terrible act, but Japan should not limit negotiations by this issue. Japan has the technology and expertise to stabilize North Korea's outdated alien economy. Japan can provide economic and humanitarian support limited to forms of services, technological capital and food aid, which cannot be diverted directly to weapons development. This economic support from Japan should be implemented in the form of joint cooperation projects sustained by high-level political leadership. Furthermore, the positives of day-to-day collaboration between politicians, experts and workers from both countries should not be underestimated. An example is Japan's expertise in nuclear energy could be of great assistance given North Korea's desire for energy security. South Korea, in recent times, North Korea has responded better to carrots and sticks. North Korea's desire for external recognition, concrete aid and security guarantees were all either explicitly or implicitly given to North Korea in some form or other in the past. Pyongyang then reciprocated Pyongyang then reciprocated with significant progress in the denuclearization and the toning down of its rhetoric. A clear pattern therefore emerges that can form the basis of future progress in solving the stalemate on the Korean Peninsula. Now to Australia. Australia must implement a permanent forum for discussion to happen even when there's no crisis present. This would greatly improve communication between the two, as a lot can gain from the regular communication with North Korea. It also should be stipulated that Australia should not follow the US and Japan in sanctions with North Korea. Another recommendation for Australia is to follow the Security Council's resolution course to resume six-party talks and an implementation of principles of the September 2005 Statement for Peaceful Negotiations. To conclude, what we would like to accomplish in the committee's resolution is that the ICG would like to see from these talks the long-term stability of the East Asia region, plus a new framework established that eventually sees North Korea integrated into the Asia region and emerge as a key actor within the international system. Furthermore, most importantly, no armed conflict in East Asia. In essence, we would also like to see improved talks between each party and North Korea to help bring stability to this issue. Thank you.
Have a seat. I jumped the gun before. Sorry, apologies for that. And now we have all 5 presentations. We can come back to the point I raised before about thinking about these planning for the second workshop. And what I would like you all to do is to have a recommendation to be voted on in the second workshop, and for you to submit that recommendation by Thursday, and I'll have it up on views on Friday. And that'll allow you to have some negotiations, discussions among the groups before we meet again next Tuesday for the opening address or the opening statements, questions without notice, and then a vote on the recommendations. So the recommendations, I must stress, also need to be brief, so brevity is good. In a real context, the recommendations can be quite lengthy and legalistic, with clauses, often written by people with expertise. For the sake of the workshop and for the sake of our time and analysis and the need for brevity, I ask that you keep it to, say, a half a page in point form, something very straightforward that we can all read and be able to vote on quite quickly. So may I ask you to do that, please, for the next workshop. So now let's continue with phase 2, which is our questions with notice. And what I'll do, and what I'll ask you to do in terms of the structure, just to remind you what's going to happen. I'll call on a group, and in fact I'll call on Japan to ask the first question. But before Japan asks the first question, the format is Japan will ask the question to a particular group. I want Japan to identify the question, so if your questions are A, B, and C, as in the first question, I will ask you all to submit 3 questions. Some of you have got 2 or 3 questions, but just identify which question it is, A, B, or C, so that we can all follow it. You'll receive I'm asking you to have the response from the group being asked the question to be brief, so we don't want lengthy responses. Then Japan, as the country that's asked the question, has the final right of reply. So that's the pattern. Question, response, final right of reply by the group asking the question. Now, the group who has answered the question and is not happy with the right of reply can think about how you can reformulate that into a question or part of your question to another group or to the same group. You may ask Japan a question, and you may want to think about how you're going to include the dialogue that's already happened in the past. Now let me just clarify what I'm saying here again, making sure you're all very clear. You have to think about this pattern of question, response, right of reply, and how that can affect the quality of your questions for either this week, probably more importantly for next week, when there are questions without notice. But are you all clear on that pattern? Okay, you're all right? So question, response, right of reply, and we'll go from there. So I will call on Japan to ask the first question with notice. So you can identify, you can ask any country you wish. Yep. So you have to say this question is to China, and it's question A, for example. You have to speak up, please.
First question on my list. What are you going to do in regards to this issue? I'd like to ask people to come to China if they will withdraw its warships from China Islands and allow us to focus on more significant North Korea.
So China, you have a response to the question from Japan.
It's been handed over to me. As we said before, I'll just take this opportunity to reiterate that we are committed today to try and find some kind of solution for stability in the region, but specifically to do with the Democratic People's Republic of North Korea, and we would like to abstain from answering any questions about territorial disputes at this time.
Okay. And right reply from Japan.
Japan feels that any issue from any transition from each nation does have an effect on the North Korean crisis and this issue developing.
Okay. I now call on China for your first question.
Patrick.
So this question is to the International Crisis Group, question 1 that we gave them. Given that international relations are determined by the interaction of states in their own national interest, how does the International Crisis Group hope to execute its role of mediation when there can be no defined common goal for all states involved in the conflict?
You say that there's no defined common goal. However, the most common goal for all these states is that North Korea won't put its action into that its nuclear threats won't come into action. We believe that it's in the best interest for all states, even North Korea, as this can result in massive sanctions from all states, even its only ally China, yourself. As Tom stated, the ICG have no personal interest in the issue itself, as we offer a third-party mediation role, and negotiations are encouraged to be taken into consideration into attempts to come to a possible solution. And with the recent UN resolutions imposing tougher sanctions, we suggest that all parties avoid any action that might further exacerbate the situation.
Okay, so try and keep your responses brief, please. That's sort of towards the extreme mark there in terms of responses. I'd ask you to speak clearly as well, and brevity is of the essence. Okay, so the third question is response. Oh, sorry, beg your pardon. Please respond, Patrick.
We as China believe that each nation would have their own national interest. For example, we as China would not wish to see the current system of governance in North Korea to be abolished, while a state such as South Korea or the US would have the national interest of seeing a democratic government or a change of government happen in North Korea. So we just, this issue of national interest, we feel plays a major role in the reaching a resolution.
Good. So apologies for that. Thank you. So I call on South Korea for their first question and identify who you're asking the question to.
We would like to direct our question to Australia. So question 1, what foreign policy will you establish to ensure your relations with East Asia and maintain the middle health?
Okay. Australia's position is more of a go-between, a mediator. Only when we are invited can we insert ourselves into the situation. So the policy that is shaped by the needs of the relative parties must be balanced against Australia's national interests. It can be said that to be a middle power, Australia must have a niche focus, and given the proximity of East Asia, instability arising from tensions on the Korean Peninsula and Australia's movement into the Asian century, Australia's focus will be on strengthening our relationship with South Korea, Japan and China. Australia needs to pursue a multilateral agreement that includes South Korea, Japan, Australia and potentially China. If this is not possible, discussions, forums and regular visits must be conducted to build and strengthen Australia's relationship with its East Asian counterparts.
And Robert. If you wish, you can renege. You don't need to reply.
Thanks for
congratulations. Do you know they did actually name a lecture theatre after him? Let's move on. Okay, so we have Australia's question. Could you identify who the question is to?
Okay, we would like to ask Japan a question. Our question is, what can Japan do to increase our bilateral relations in order to tackle the issue of North Korea?
As Japan, we propose the inclusion of Australian official representatives to advise us in the formulation of policies in order to tackle North Korea issues. Considering our strong bilateral relationship with Australia, we think it's probably the best option available.
Okay, we're in agreement.
Now that comes as a surprise. Okay, let's move on to International Crisis Group.
Our question is to China. In the event of military conflict between North Korea and China, would South Korea become an immediate strategic ally of China to deal with the resulting... Oh, sorry, wrong section. Is there any plans within the Chinese administration to reintegrating North Korea back into the international community?
As Beijing and Pyongyang have grown increasingly bound together with their economic dealings, North Korea has become increasingly reliant on China. China has assumed a pivotal role in containing North Korea on behalf of America to prevent further tension resulting in regional war. China has expressed its support to Resolution 2094, which was reflected by Foreign Ministry spokesperson Kun Yang, when she stated that China is committed to the denuclearization of the peninsula and maintenance of peace and stability. Despite China genuinely seeking the denuclearization of the Korean peninsula, the economic support it lends to North Korea is part of its national interest. While China's positive initiatives are acknowledged, there are still accusations that the economic aid is overt support. Beijing fears that suspending this aid and reintegrating North Korea through the fourth regime would lead to a knock-on effect, which would lead to thousands of refugees pouring into Northeast China. These ties are significant in that they ease the impact of sanctions imposed by the Security Council.
And right of reply to it? No? Okay. Right, let's move on to our second round of questions. I'll take off my chair hat for a moment. I will be making sure that, as fair as possible, make sure all countries and representatives do have an opportunity for questions and answers. We'll see how we go. So second round, we'll start with South Korea, please. Your question with notice. South Korea is... sorry, right in front. Yeah, speak.
So, I got a question. I got a question for China. Does North Korea pose a threat to your national interest?
Yes, North Korea is a threat, and it stabilizes Chinese interest in growing Chinese-US bilateral relations. This is due to North Korea's dependence on Chinese economy to sustain its policy. Therefore, North Korea has become the most immediate and significant threat to a new form of strategic cooperation between China and the US, as well as China and their cooperation.
Yeah, the guy that said, well, he said that they weren't a threat, and you're saying they're not.
If I may interject.
Well, no. Well, so remember the pattern here. So the pattern is that the pattern here is this is the point of having the right response. And then you've got to think about how can you respond to this, given that this is a very structured forum today. Remember, next week it's an open forum. That gives you the opportunity to do more of this. So today is more of the shadow boxing. So sorry, can you just clarify what you said and we'll move on?
So the speaker was trying to force it that they weren't a threat. They were. They were not a threat, and now you're saying they are.
So as a group, South Korea, you're now expressing your concerns about inconsistency in China's response. Okay, so that's something for you. Now, as a chair, I'm not putting words in your mouth, this is what you've said. The point of this is now you've got to think about how this works in a forum, in a debating forum, and how you can use this information or consider how you're going to respond to this in time. Now, our next question, sorry, so your response here. Our next question is indeed from China. So, you can ask a question, and you can decide who you wish to ask the question to.
Nancy, do you want to South Korea?
Okay, so the United States and China has a formal approach to North Korean issue. A proposed three-step agenda towards a resolution. First, a separation of issues. Second, a nuclear issue. And third, the humanitarian aid program. If this tactic fails, what tactic would South Korea propose? Which question was that?
It should be the third one,
It
which
should be
is
the third one.
Good question, South Korea. So, question is three. So you have to be clear on that, Nancy. Yeah.
Okay, so if North Korea was to be denuclearized, would South Korea assist in the normalization of North Korea and inter-Korean relations? If so, could this perhaps lead to the unification of the Korean Peninsula as one Korean state?
Yes, it is in our best interest to assist in the normalization of relations with the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Reunification is a policy which the Republic of Korea will always endeavour to work towards. Article 5 in our Constitution states the following: the Republic of Korea shall seek unification and shall formulate and carry out a policy of peaceful unification based on the principles of freedom and democracy. However, reunification is a highly complex issue and is conditional on a number of factors such as freedom and democracy. Denuclearization is also one of these factors, and the removal of the nuclear threat from the Democratic People's Republic of Korea towards the Republic of Korea will go a long way in improving relations between North and South.
And the right of reply from China. Thank you. You're right to move on. Okay, thank you. Question from Japan. And identify who you're asking the question and from, and also the order and the question number. Where are you in Japan? Number Japan group here. Andrew here.
Question one, Australia foreign aid budget.
All parties do accept in ourselves will benefit out of this tax. However, there are certain circumstances where previously we've had a discussion on the line to share military intelligence, and we are eager to resume that dialogue because of the situation.
Okay, good. Okay, so let's move on. We've got Australia and the International Crisis Group, so Australia first, and then the
Positive.
Yes, our question is for China. Would Australia's direct intervention in the Korean Peninsula in the event of a hot war impact our economic and military relationship with China?
As outlined in our opening statement, we're very committed to maintaining a trade and economic relationship with China, even in the event of some form of security crisis in the region, provided that Australia does not enter into a direct military conflict with China or support the US in doing the same, then you can expect our economic relations to remain unaffected.
Okay, thank you.
And International Crisis Group.
Our question is the first question to Australia. Given the push within Australia to increase the foreign aid budget, are there any plans to increase aid to North Korea?
As one of our questions to the International Crisis Committee was that Australia's position was to provide adequate humanitarian support in the event of a meltdown in North Korea, it would seem an automatic response that Australia would increase aid to North Korea. One of the global aims of the budget is to strengthen preparedness and response to humanitarian crises. The government budget is committed to spending $435.6 million over 4 years by leading responses to an anticipated crisis in the Asia-Pacific region, providing life-saving assistance for approximately 30 million people and supporting disaster risk education, mine action and conflict prevention. Australia is prepared to assist or increase aid to North Korea in the event of a crisis.
Good, thank you. Our response? You're okay. Okay, now this leaves us 10 minutes. And in those 10 minutes, since we've all been so diligent, we've kept to our time with the opening address. This is probably the first time when I was trying to work for that. We've had short, brief questions and responses and good quality work. I'm going to give you the option to ask questions without notice. Just to change things around. So, are there any questions you would wish to ask? So this allows you to respond to any issue you wish in preparation for next week. So, Adrian, is ICG?
Just as a follow-up question to Australia, given Australia's recent federal budget cutting $5 billion from foreign aid in the event of armed conflict in the Korean Peninsula, how does that gel with your statement of reaffirming foreign aid in the event of crisis?
Any crisis arising would result in an emergency meeting of Parliament, and we discuss those issues as they arose.
Would you like to respond to that?
I suggested largely nothing, and the Australian delegation said basically.
Okay, okay, that's all right. Well, we can move on. So you can ask questions that you've already planned, or you can ask a question without notice. So, question from ICG, we've got an opportunity for all of you to ask one more question before we move on. So can we have a nomination, please, here from South Korea? Yep.
You indicated that you'd like to move to defense tax between the United States and the Republic of Korea. We would like to see some clarification on what you would consider strong defense.
What's she saying?
So repeat the question, please.
Okay.
To us.
We just want to see some clarification on what you meant by the term defense tax.
Well, it'll be similar to what we already have with the US, in that if either of our countries are attacked, it would be a declaration of war on the other one as well. So if North Korea fires a missile at Japan, then we consider firing a missile at South Korea as well. So either way, we help each other out.
How effective would that be? Because North Korea doesn't affect the war, and then we be the whole East Asian region, and other countries going to get involved because they have the same affairs in our country too.
No, you can now. Because we're in questions for that now.
So if North Korea fires a missile at us, if we had a defense pact, then South Korea would be involved in the war as well, same with the US. It would be the only way that, unless China wants to defend North Korea's actions in firing a missile at us, then I don't see how any other nation would be getting involved.
Okay, so we'll hold up there. So this is worth thinking about. This becomes interesting in terms of information and how this presents issues. So next question can be either, as I said, I'll give you the opportunity to question without notice, or it can be one of your planned questions. So we've got 3 countries still to go. So, yep. China, would you like to ask the question with or without notice?
Given the choice, we prefer a planned question.
Sure, go for it. And identify the country or organisation.
Question 1 to Australia.
Australia use such a tax as a direct or indirect indication of the language treaty, and if so, the same be true for the Japanese and South Korean states that have been attacked in the US making the military investment on arms.
Australia would like to invoke the statement from previous Foreign Minister Downer. Downer stated that the ANZUS Treaty does not bind Australia to help the US unless there is an attack on American soil. This indicates that Australia help if the US sided with Taiwan against China would not be automatic. Essentially, the ANZUS Treaty only generates obligations for Australia and the US should other countries be attacked. If we resort to the hypothetical Taiwan. If, for example, Taiwan were to be attacked by China and America were to get drawn into the fray, Australia would not be obliged under ANZUS to assist the US. However, ANZUS can be written another way, as the US State Department reaction shows. The treaty indicates that ANZUS comes into play when the armed forces of either side are attacking the due to our current alliances, if North Korea attacked Japan, the United States would definitely support its allies. I mean, we would definitely support the US, seeing as there are American bases in Japan. From this treaty, if either country were attacked, the US would be obligated to engage in warfare in East Asia. If North Korea attacked the US, the ANZUS treaty would most likely be invoked. The same would apply if North Korea attacked Australia, where the US would then be obligated under the ANZUS treaty to help defend Australia. To answer the supplementary question, it's important to refer back to the history of the Korean War from 1950 and 1953. In the Korean War, Australia sent 18,000 troops to fight alongside South Korea during the Korean War, which was up to 339 Australian deaths. In the 21st century, Australia is committed to peace on the Korean Peninsula. Australia's country was trying to be consistent, so if there was an attack in South Korea and Japan, Australia would obviously do all they could to maintain peace in the region.
And you're right about that.
I can just take a quick opportunity to point out to you that any questions we ask you next week relating to this topic will now be predicated on the answer you've just given us that you would not invoke the ANZUS treaty. So that's sort of a bit of
We would
information.
not invoke the ANZUS treaty.
That's an important development workshop. We can move on. And we'll move to Australia. I believe wasn't that a third question? You can use your set question or question without answer.
Okay, we'll ask the set question. We would like Australia...
And who addressing the question
to Japan. Sorry, just a moment.
Go, which question?
Australia would like to refer to Japan's question regarding Australia somehow riding the US bandwagon in Asia. Given Japan's very strong relationship with the US, how does Japan reconcile this rather rude statement with its own policy?
If I understood your question correctly, Japan has a constitutional ties to the United States, which Australia does not.
We acknowledge that, but we still fail to understand the notion of Australia riding the US bandwagon.
You can respond.
Australia seems to always act in the Asian region because they're after the United States and actively following the United States policies in the region without conflicts against it.
Well, in response to that statement, Australia would like to say that Australia is a sovereign nation, with fundamentally its own national interests at the forefront. And for Australia, the US has always and will always be an ally in which there are shared values and cultures. That being said, Australia has been acting on its own accord lately. We refer you to the 2013 Defence White Paper, for example. And it is important to note that in invoking treaties such as ANZUS, Australia has fundamentally considered its position in the region. And the treaty does not demand participatory action, hence any sort of invocation of ANZUS, if conflict were to occur in the region, would only be considered with Australia's national interests at the forefront as well.
Okay. And last question, with notice or without notice from Japan?
We have a question from China. In your opening address, you said that North Korea is not the top threat in the Asian region. However, if this is the case, then how come there's a concentration of troops along the border?
Sorry, to clarify your question, concentration of which
Chinese troops.
Chinese troops.
Along the
Okay.
border.
Yep.
It is true that China is increasing its military presence on the border of North Korea as tensions grow within the region. These troops, however, are there only to handle the possible influx of refugees should a war break out with North Korea in the region. They are not in response to North Korean military exercises. We will not be releasing any further official statements on our military position, as China does not currently see
North Korea as a possible threat to us as a state. We see them as a possible threat to the region or not to our state.
Response? Sorry, depends. You've been in Canberra for a long time, haven't you? Now, so did you want to... Oh, okay, sure, thank you. Okay, so I want to, we'll ask you to stay here. Wait, please, so don't take it off. But we'll finalise this first workshop. So we're formally finishing the first workshop, but I want you to stay here and we'll give you a little bit of mini feedback before I talk to individual groups, and also talk about the next workshop. So giving you a little taste, I thought because we were going through quite well, and because we were going through the questions, it's useful for you to think about the second workshop and the questions without the notice. And that gives you an opportunity to start thinking and planning. What you need to do in your groups is to strategize, think about the statements that have been made in the opening address, the responses to questions, to think about, one, your recommendation for voting. We're going to vote on next week in the second workshop. And importantly, number two, your response to the sorts of statements made by the other groups in terms of coalition building and also issues or problems that you see that emerge from the dialogue today. And you need to think about this in terms of developing a recommendation that would be workable for all groups. Now, we have a request from the South Koreans to make a statement. And Liam, you had your hand up there too. Right,
I was going to ask their time on this question.
No, not until we've run out of time, sorry. But keep that, hold the fire for next week. All right. So in rough terms, everyone had a reasonable opportunity to ask questions and to respond to questions. I'll maintain it next week, and we'll see how we go. And South Korean delegate wants to raise an issue. It's not a question, it's a statement. About communication, yeah. Yeah.
I'd just like to have a close meeting with the Japanese and the ICG afterwards, after the study. Thank you.
So you want to do what? Sorry, you want to do
I'd like to have a close meeting with Japan and the ICG.
That's the South Korean group, yeah. Okay. Now, as you retire,
Busy.
Just wait, please. Wait. How many of you are rushing to a tube or a lecture straight away? So may I ask that you congregate outside and I can talk to you in your groups to give you immediate feedback. And I'll be giving you written feedback within a few days as well. So I'll give you verbal feedback today, written feedback. Now wait, our guests and observers here will observe teachers of Asia and the world, and there's a statement to make.
A really quick announcement, folks. On the 29th of May, that's a Wednesday at 10 a.m. in... Who's here is in Asia and the world right now? What lecture theatre? Wow, lots of you. What lecture theatre are we in? EBG. It's directly beneath us, right down on the ground floor. Okay. On the 29th of May, at 10 a.m., Professor Edmund Fung, he's going to give a lecture on China since 1945. Now, he is one of the world's leading authorities on China, on 20th century China. And I'm not sure if I'm really allowed to say this, but it might possibly be one of your last chances to hear him speak. So even if you're not in Asia in the world, please, please, please come and listen to him, because you will never ever hear someone who's able to speak with this much authority about China. So please feel welcome to come. Same room as this one, but 2 floors down on the ground floor. 10 o'clock, 29th of May. So please, please, please feel welcome to come.
Thank you. I'll see you outside.